For over 15 years, Saturdays and Illegal Curve have been synonymous with one another. With insight, analysis, and interviews regarding the Winnipeg Jets, the Manitoba Moose, and all around the NHL, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mindell. The Illegal Curve Hockey Show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Let's go! Saturday morning. Welcome to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Drew Mindell, Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg eating a breakfast sandwich behind the scenes. It's great to see that.
Plain bagel with cream cheese, Drew.
Oh, sorry. I didn't know what it was. I see you just little. Yes, I saw you get a little bites of little food there. Getting a little bit of food in that belly of yours.
Our little chipmunk cheeks were full of food. That's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Making sure you get all that cream cheese off that bagel. Don't waste a drop there or anything along those lines there, Mr. Ginsburg. I can see what you're up to. It's all good. It's all fun. It's Saturday morning. It's beautiful outside. We say good morning, Winnipeg. Good morning, Manitoba. And for all those joining us live this morning on our YouTube channel and all of our social media platforms, we say good morning, universe, and welcome to the Illegal Curve Hockey Show presented by our friends at Play Now. Dave Manouk in the top right, Ezra Ginsburg in the bottom middle, and I'm your host, Drew Mindell, here for the next couple of hours, talk everything to do with the Winnipeg Jets. News galore in a week of just a hectic week for the Winnipeg Jets. We've touched on a lot of it already, but two, stories that would really take up an entire show on their own potentially haven't even been touched on. That's how busy of a week it's been. We'll delve deep into the Jets as we go on this Saturday morning. Our good buddy Murat Atesh from The Athletic, he joins us in about 25 minutes time. Bottom of the hour, he'll talk about the Jets. And then in hour number 2, Jessie Pierce, she covers the Minnesota Wild, good friend of the show. She's on to talk about the Wild, who will be in town tomorrow, a divisional rival, a rivalry game, a fun Sunday afternoon in downtown Winnipeg as the Jets look to put the loss to the Carolina Hurricanes behind them, and they look to leapfrog the Minnesota Wild back into a top 3 spot in that absolute juggernaut that is the Central Division, gentlemen. Good to see you both on this Saturday morning.
Good to see you, boys. Yeah, nobody seems to be losing in that Central Division, right, Dave? And I've been talking about the Wild. Yeah, exactly.
Utah,
yeah, I guess Utah's been losing a little bit, but the Wild have won 4 in a row. They're 8-1-1 in their last 10. Mm-hmm. Every time the Jets play the Wild, it's a close game. It seems like. It seems like very rarely do we see a blowout by either squad, right? But lots of news, Drew, and I mean, I think we need to start off with Nick Ehlers, right? That ovation, I had goosebumps. I was watching the game with a friend, and that ovation, I don't know if it was louder than Blake Wheeler's ovation. It doesn't really matter, but that was really nice, fitting for 27. I think we all expected there to be a big pop, as they say, right? And he got his pop, Dave, and he deserved it because he's a class guy, and he gave everything he had for the Jets for 10 years, and it was nice to see him get his props.
Yeah, there's no question about it, and you're right, Ezzy. It was quite. Credit to the Jets for putting together that video. It was really well done. If you haven't seen it, it's on our YouTube channel or on our Instagram, so you can go check that out. But it was a really nice, and you could see it was touching to him because they showed him for a few seconds afterwards on the Jumbotron, and you could just see him touching his heart and thanking fans. And you heard it in his media availability again on our YouTube channel earlier in the day, just about how connected he is and how weird it is for him to be, one of the comments he made as he was, I've spent more time in Winnipeg than I've spent anywhere else in my entire life. And if you think about it, right, he was here for 10 years. So, look, he got booed a little bit, which fans tend to focus on one of the best players, and he got some jeers from the crowd, but he also got a lot of love from and
not in our section, Dave. I didn't hear any. There were a bit, if there were, it was only a few. It was
no, it was noticeable, but as Mike McIntyre described it, a smattering of boos. But the fact of the matter is that again, people are entitled to be fans however they want. They don't have to. It's not a. You don't have to. You can be a non-conformist and choose to do
We're not
that,
sheep, Dave, right?
That's right. But the fact is that, even before the video began, or just as the video was beginning, every single fan in that building was on their feet, sold out building, and they were all on their feet cheering and giving him the kind of, ovation that I think he was hoping for. But as he had said himself, I'm not sure what kind of reception it's going to be. So it was a really, fitting, maybe not for the Jets, but fitting that the game-winning goal comes off a patented Nikolaj Ehlers pass, no look pass, and that's what wins the game for the Carolina Hurricanes. And yeah, I thought it was a really nice sort of day, but it was just a chaotic day, as Drew said, because there was just, our special edition show, we barely scratched the surface of all the things that we needed to talk about to really get in depth about. So obviously that's what we'll be doing today. And starting with Ehlers is appropriate because of how much he, dedicated to this community. It honestly, again, to reflect on time, it is amazing to me. I remember when ahead of the 2014 draft, which was in Philly, and as we talked about, the three of us were at, that when guys were suggesting who should the Jets take, Ehlers was 9th overall, right? Was it 9th overall for Ehlers?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember exactly what the number was.
Yes, it was 9th.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so, but I just remember when guys were suggesting that like the Jets should take Ehlers 9th overall when he was still playing for Halifax. I remember people like getting so excited because he was like liking their tweets, and then I remember him engaging stuff. Though it feels like that was yesterday, and then to realize that that was a long time ago, over 11 years ago. So yeah, he gave a lot to this community, and he was a big part of that team, and you could see his value. He was everywhere in that game yesterday. Of all the players on Carolina, other than Stahl, who scored the 2 goals, did you hear anybody's name? And I'm even with respect to those 2 goals, did you hear anybody's name more than Nikolaj Ehlers in that game yesterday? He touched the puck a ton. He was all over the ice, and he showed off what he is capable of doing. And obviously Jets fans are well aware of what that is.
Yeah, he was impressive for the Hurricanes last night. They get the 4-3 victory. The Winnipeg Jets, Scott Arniel said it in the post-game comments, and that, the Jets didn't play a poor game, but they just made too many mistakes at inopportune times. And that's something that they absolutely have to start to clean up. And they have to clean that up effective on Sunday against the Minnesota Wild, or they're quickly going to find themselves out entirely of a playoff spot in that Central Division and in that Western Conference, as I mentioned off the start of the show. So the Jets know the task at hand. Let's get into some of the news of the week. We spent a lot of time in last night's post-game show talking about last night's game. We all watched the game. We all sort of know what happened. We know Connor Hellebuyck is going to be out of the Jets lineup for the next 4 to 6 weeks after undergoing arthroscopic knee surgery. But the surgery is happening today. Correct. Exactly right. It's going to be today that the surgery happens. And then, of course, the rehab and the treatment and the recuperation process begins in earnest shortly thereafter.
Boys, are we going to go live to the Victoria Hospital for the surgery? Or?
I'm not sure where the surgery is happening. It's a good question. I thought they do knees and hips at the Concordia Hospital. So I don't know which. I'm not sure where the surgery is being done. I don't think it's really that important. But that's funny of you, Ez. That was a good line. The news before that was the Adam Lowry contract extension. That was the news of the middle of the week at the Jets Gala, which was nicely done, by the organization to announce it, to all the assembled people who are at the True North Gala, or whatever the True North Foundation Gala, or whatever the exact name of the gala is. I'm not a gala guy myself, so I don't really get invited to things of that nature. That's okay.
Really, I could see you wearing a little bow tie going to galas.
I think, Dave, you're more of a gala guy. I've seen you, hobnobbing.
I can hobnob,
but you're not the invited guest, but you're the +1 on somebody's arm.
Okay, that makes
gala
sense.
Is what
I
you
would
are.
agree with
I was
that.
going to say I would definitely be Dave's +1 any day of the week.
Yeah.
Let's hit up some galas, Dave. Let's do it.
Ezzy and I would be like George and Kramer going to the Yankees. Who was it? Which team was it for the Yankees?
When George tells
he wanted the grand entrance.
That he wants his date
grand
to
entrance.
twirl when they enter the
he wanted the grand entrance.
Yeah, exactly right. In any event, I don't know that there was any twirling or that there was any grand entrances, but there certainly was a 5-year contract extension for Adam Lowry. 5 years, $25 million, $5 million per season. The Jets cap, not a surprise that it gets done. It'll take him really more than likely to the end of his career, or maybe not officially, but he's going to be one of those more or less, by and large, Jets players for life. From the time that he entered the league to the time that he departs the league, having played, I guess it'll be almost 16, 17 years here in Winnipeg, which is an impressive accomplishment. I just guess my question for you guys, 5 years, $5 million per season, again, a guy who's not getting any younger, so you're paying for, probably a little bit of a diminished returns in terms of his on-ice performance, but so much of what Adam Lowry brings to the Winnipeg Jets cannot be quantified strictly in either points or even, I would argue, in the advanced stats, in the analytics. Not a surprise, but do you have a problem with the term of the deal or anything along those lines, Dave?
I mean, it's not my money, so I don't have any problems with it. But I mean, I would suggest that I would say the term I was right on. I thought it was. We were talking about it before it. It was funny. It was just kind of a weird day because we're sitting there on, was it Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday. And we're watching practice, and a bunch of the media folks were chit chatting, and I said, my guess is it's probably going to be about 5. I thought it'd be 4 times 5. I thought it'd be 4 years and a $5 million deal because I just thought taking him till he was 38 might be a little bit much, but especially because of the game he plays. Similar, my feeling is though, and it's funny though because Kevin, I don't know if you guys saw, but like Adam Lowry when he's talking to us yesterday, basically said something like, "Yeah, Kevin Cheveldayoff when he came off the ice went up to him and kind of said you might want to call your agent." And it was just funny because Mike McIntyre and I were standing there, and I saw that interaction. And I mean, of course, I couldn't, it was from far away, so I couldn't really hear what they were saying. But I said to Mike jokingly, I'm like, I bet you he's telling him about to get his contract right now. And so sure enough, that's exactly what was happening. But it was just one of those, I mean, I look at it and I think to myself, like Adam Lowry, first of all, probably got underpaid in his previous deal. And I look at this like the Blake Wheeler deal. Mm-hmm. It's probably going to be fine for the first 3 years. And you got to remember, of course, as the cap continues to increase, it's not going to be a significant percentage of that cap. Right. But more importantly, I just think like it's one of those things, you're paying the guy the extra couple of years because of what he's been to your organization, right? As he the second ever draft pick that you've ever made since returning to Winnipeg. And you look at it and you say, okay, if he can bring us a Stanley Cup, then the extra year or the extra $5 million or the extra $500,000 on the contract, or if you thought it was a $4 million contract, the extra $1 million on a contract is worth it. So like that's kind of my guess is the way the Jets kind of factored it out. But no, I'm not. I wasn't surprised by the amount. It was maybe 1 year extra on term. That'd be my only assessment.
So the contract at the start of the contract, which of course will be next year, it'll be 4.8% of the salary cap. I mean, I could think people could make the argument that Adam Lowry's value to the Winnipeg Jets is worth more than 4.8% of the sort of entire roster of the team. Given the accomplishments that he has done for this team, and given that he's really the heart and soul of this team. And now I know it's hard to quantify heart and soul. And I know that there's probably an element.
Actually not, Drew. It's worth $5 million a year.
There's an element of the audience who, don't put much value in things of that nature. I saw some people who subscribe to the analytics side of the thing saying, yes, Lowry's an important player, but that's not going to age well. And yes, maybe the Jets probably shouldn't have done it because of that sort of aging curve that's going to be involved in the latter years of this deal. But
the projections, by the way, but a lot of the projections were 4.8. Right. Like it wasn't a lot of the guys who do contract projections. I think it was Evolving Hockey said 4.8 was their projection for this type of deal for him. So
so it's within the realm of it. I mean, I saw Dom Lucian. I mean, it was sort of there's Jay Fresh Hockey and there's Dom Lucian who works for the Athletic, and he's like, oh, I don't know about that one. It's going to age poorly. I'm like, yeah, it is, but again, he's the captain of the team. You've already sort of hitched your wagon to him. What are you going to do at this point in time? You can't just uproot from that and then change your entire the entirety of your organization, right? Because you think that Adam Lowry right now is a key driver of that organization. And I think the evidence to that effect is well documented. This isn't the Jets where they were having cultural issues, when they, made the change with regard to Blake Wheeler. Adam Lowry is the heart and soul of this team. So yes, I get the argument analytically that it's not going to be so great maybe in year 4 or year 5, but I think it is one of those situations where you have to bite the bullet a little bit on this one, Ezzy.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're not talking about a regular player. You're talking about, when you talk about the core of this team, right? You obviously think of Scheifele and Connor, Morrissey, Hellebuyck. Lowry is also a big part of that core. And, Drew talked about, it's difficult to quantify, and I agree. And I think maybe I'm with Dave. Like, maybe I'm a little bit like, I was thinking it was going to be a 4-year contract. But again, what's one extra year really? Like, we're kind of splitting hairs here, right? When we're talking about 4 years versus 5 years, or, you know what I mean, Dave, like 4.8 versus, I'm not a capologist. I don't break down the dollars and cents that much, but I mean, to me, $5 million is worth it for Adam Lowry. It's worth every penny, if you ask me. And I think, when you're talking about what he does for this team, I mean, it's basically everything, right? Like, it's killing penalties. He drops the gloves. He scores goals. He checks the other team's best players. Like, he is up the middle, a big reason why the Jets have had the success that they've had over the years, right?
Well, it's
in addition
funny. Sorry, go ahead, Ezzy. Finish.
No, I was just going to say, so I think, like to Drew's point about, the advanced stats saying that this contract isn't going to age well. Okay, I'm not going to argue with the numbers. The numbers are the numbers. But I think what also this does is this ensures that Lowry's most likely going to finish his career with the Jets, or at the very least spend 90 to 95% of his career with the Jets, right? So I think it's a great deal. Lowry wanted to stay here for the rest of his career. The Jets want him to be here. They see him as their captain for many years to come. So I think the contract is a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned, and makes a lot of sense.
Well, it's sort of funny. Our buddy Connor Hellebuyck was getting a little salty on Twitter when the tweet from Dom Lucian of The Athletic. He shows Lowry's player card, and he says that Lowry's market value is only $2.7 million, which, I mean, look, I don't doubt the numbers that go into creating these player cards, but if you think that Lowry is only a $2.7 million player in this era of the salary cap, you haven't been watching enough Winnipeg Jets hockey to make that. I know you plug the numbers in, but the numbers don't always spit out an accurate reflection. So Dom, said Adam Lowry is a great defensive center, but $5 million for a defense-only center's ages 33 through 37 seasons could get a little dicey, which, fine. And then Connor, came back with some additional numbers, which I thought were also valid. Since Adam Lowry became Winnipeg's captain in 23-24, the Jets have outscored their opponents 76-42 with him on the ice. That's that that is 64.4% goal share at 5-on-5. He's also got a 55% expected goals for percentage in 2,000 plus minutes, often facing other teams' best players. Mm-hmm. So this is a situation, I believe, where, you can plug in the numbers into the player card. The player card will get spit out at you, but I don't think it accurately reflects what Adam Lowry does. And I don't think it accurately reflects how effective he is. Never mind the intangibles. The intangibles are nice and all, and they're important, but he also is effective in his role. Mm-hmm. He's not a 30 goal scorer. That's not going to be what he is. But when you go out there and you play against the opponent's best players and you win your minutes, when the Jets are on the road and, they're playing against another team's top line, that other coach, the opposing coach, is getting their top line players out on the ice, not against Adam Lowry. They're avoiding Adam Lowry. That tells you how important and how significant Adam Lowry is to the Winnipeg Jets and how well respected he is for his defensive acumen and everything that he does all around the NHL. So the numbers, I think in this instance, the player card is not an accurate reflection of the player's actual on-ice impact in this case, I would say.
Guys, he's been voted as a top 10 defensive forward for the Frank Selke Trophy. He was, 9th, Dave, I believe, last year?
I voted for him, Ezzy.
Right. Did you actually?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I mean, so and obviously he got more votes than just Dave. Like, this is voted. This is voted on.
Dave.
Yeah, exactly. Dave doesn't have that much power that he got him into the top 10, but it just shows you that's how good of a forward he is. That's how well regarded he is around the league. It's not just us here in Winnipeg on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show that appreciate what he does. He's a huge reason why the Jets are the team that they are, right? And you look at that line with Lowry, Niederreiter, Iafallo. I know that last night, I'm sure you guys talked about it, Iafallo got bumped down to the 4th line. But the point is, Lowry and Niederreiter, whether it's with Mason Appleton, whether it's with Iafallo, whether it's with Tanner Pearson, doesn't matter. Those two guys have been relied upon heavily by Scott Arniel and the coaching staff. And like Drew said, they've delivered. They win their minutes.
Mm-hmm.
They're a really effective line. Yes, they don't, each chip in 30 goals and 60 points, but that's not what's expected of them. They're expected to, chip in 10 to 15 goals and 30 to 35 points. That's kind of what's expected of them. And his value is way higher when you factor in, he's out there on the top penalty killing unit, right? He's out there for important defensive zone faceoffs, right, Dave? So
yeah,
I think it's a great contract for him, and like I said earlier, it kind of ensures that he's most likely going to finish his career as a Jet, which is pretty awesome.
I gave him a 5th place vote, Ezzy, just so I went back and looked.
Nice.
Can we see your ballot?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the PHWA
Yeah, I
website.
guess they do publish them all. I thought that was a different Dave Minuk, to be perfectly honest. I can't believe they gave you a ballot, but that's a separate issue, I guess, entirely that we'll have to delve deep into off the air. Look, I mean, Lowry fits as the Winnipeg Jets. It's $5 million. The salary cap hit is not going to hurt you, even if he sort of tails off in the last year of that deal, which is entirely possible, if not probable.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be a significant detriment. It's not going to be a significant drag on your future salary cap flexibility. I do think that, there's some, maybe could the Jets have wanted to get it done for 4 years instead of for 5 years? Probably.
I'm sure that's true. I mean, let's be realistic. That's probably what they did want, but it's called a negotiation. Just because you want something doesn't mean that you're going to get it. You have to negotiate. And Lowry's camp obviously wanted the security of having a 5-year deal, right, Ezzy? So you have to decide, is it worth having a stalemate and then having it drag further? Because, and here's where I'll acknowledge I was very wrong. I mean, my assessment and Drew, as 3 weeks ago, was that I didn't think that they would start the season without him having a contract. But they did, and that's fine.
Well, and the injury could have been part of that, right?
Yeah, they wanted to see how he looked and that sort of thing, and how his recovery was going, and to see if there were any setbacks, because I'm sure that does kind of factor in, right? Like, you have to decide, like, if you're going to sign him to a 5-year deal, but this, he gets 3 games in and suddenly there's a problem. That's that could be a problem. So from your perspective, I suspect what the Jets thinking was, okay, this is our framework. We've agreed, we know that the contract negotiations were happening in October. So it's not like you think, okay, well, why does it need to take that long? Which was my assessment as to why I thought it would happen before. But I mean, at the same time, it's one thing to get it done when they did, but if it doesn't get done, let's say on Wednesday, then ultimately what happens? Are you going to tell me that it doesn't become an issue if it's dragging into December, into January, and there's no extension for the captain? So I think they had to get it done sooner rather than later. And I think at the same time, as is with any negotiation for any sort of situation, there has to be give and take. So I'm sure the Lowry camp wanted it to look a certain way, and the Jets had to decide how hard they wanted to be against the guy that they consider, pinnacle to their franchise's success.
Yeah, and that's just, the Jets, you don't re-sign Connor, you don't re-sign, Scheifele, you don't re-sign Hellebuyck, you don't re-sign all these big names, the core of your team, and then just leave Adam Lowry out. I mean, it was a no-brainer. It was obviously going to get done. I don't think that at any point in time there. You heard what Adam said to his agent when he was being interviewed at the Jets gala. He said to his agent, "I want to stay in Winnipeg." He wants to stay in Winnipeg. The Jets want him to stay in Winnipeg. It's just a matter of sort of working through the process to get this done. It eventually does get done, of course, earlier this week at $5 million per year. He means so much to the team. He means so much to the community. He's embedded himself within this community. If it means you have to give him an extra year, then so be it. I mean, then you just give him that extra year and you keep him around. And, even if he's, not the same Adam Lowry that he is today, and he likely won't be, he's a bridge to the next generation of Winnipeg Jets is what that role could be for him towards the end of his career. I
think you make good points, Drew, that a lot of this contract, this is a reward contract, right?
Sure.
Like, this is just as much rewarding him for what he's done to this point as what he's going to do for the club in the future. And I agree. He's a pretty durable player, guys. Like this contract's going to take him to 37. So like Drew said, so he tails off a little bit when he's 35, 36. Okay, that's fine. I'm still going to assume that he's going to be a very productive player at 35 or 36 years old, the way he takes care of his body. right?
Well, if he tails off, where do the Jets have depth? They have depth at forward. I mean, so by the time he's towards the end of that, the next 5-year contract, you want to see the next wave of guys taking over at that point in time.
I mean, look, you've got guys like Danny Zhilkin, who Mark Morrison has described as a top center in the NHL, the 2022 third rounder. I know Frosty, if he's in the chat, is going to be excited that I'm mentioning Danny Zhilkin so early in the show. But he's a guy who's defensively responsible, can put the puck in the net. He's already matched his goal total from the 2 previous seasons this year. So he is a young, exciting Jets prospect. Really seems to have, as folks saw at that tournament in Montreal, and then a really good training camp. And he's continued to have a really good elevated. So you don't know. And Braden Yager, there's another kid who has very Brian Little-esque, if you will, because he's got really good vision, is excellent, has a pretty good shot. And so but again, it's for Braden Yager, it's the size, it's the maturity. You see it when he goes up against men in the American Hockey League. Sometimes, technique is important, but sometimes that strength isn't there yet.
Right,
and I mean,
he's 20 years old.
That's what I mean. So mostly as a center, when you're going up against other guys who are experienced centers. But I'm just saying that there is that next wave, right, Ezzy? So there should be, that would be a natural thing, is that Adam Lowry, who, even though he's listed as the 3C, we know that he's really just a 2C on this team. But eventually he will start to slide down. And then you hope, if you're a Jets fan, that you do have one of these two guys, most likely Yager, would be the 2C of the future. So you have Scheifele, Yager, maybe Zhilkin, and Lowry. And then again, like I'm saying, we're talking about 5 years from now, those guys will be a little bit more in their sort of man bodies, if you will, and they'll be ready to kind of take on that responsibility. But that's a show for another time. But I just think that there is that sort of element of things. But we should probably go to break and then bring on Murat.
Well, Dave said that, so let's do it. So when we come back, Murat Atesh of The Athletic is going to join us, talk more about the Jets, more about Lowry, Lambert, Hellebuyck, the Jets on-ice performance. So much to discuss on this Saturday morning edition of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. Don't go anywhere.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized washable peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Bottom of hour number 1, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show rolls on, and we're thrilled to welcome to the program our very good friend from The Athletic. That's right. Throw those hands up in the air. Murat Atesh joins us on the show. Hello, sir. How are you? Good morning to you.
Good morning to you. I'm doing well. Happy to be here. How are you guys?
We're doing fine and dandy. I think Ezzy had a little bit of a spill. Ezzy, did you spill something before during commercial break? Is that what you were cleaning up there?
Yes, I spilled some coffee here. I'm having some issues here. I think I'm going to have to sign out. And yes, hello, Murat. Thank you for joining us today.
Bye, Murat.
Yes, I'm going to have to sign out here for a second.
A well-oiled machine that we usually are here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. So we'll delve right into the Winnipeg Jets. Murat Atesh of The Athletic. We were talking about the Adam Lowry contract extension. You wrote about it extensively. And, for the interest of, we were talking about sort of some of the pushback against the contract, namely from it was your colleague Dom Lucian said that he doesn't think this is going to age well, the contract, and his comments I think are they're rooted in a reasonable opinion, but from the Jets' perspective, Adam Lowry is so much more than just what he does on the ice for the team. That from our perspective, even if you don't like that it's going to be, maybe not look great in years 4 and 5, it was a must-do contract for the Jets. Your sort of general impression of the contract, if you will.
Yeah, it would add Adam Lowry to a list of Winnipeg Jet for life type players who are signed well into their 30s, and there's going to be a day where the bottom drops out of this core of the Winnipeg Jets, and the aging curves catch up to everybody. And we've already seen that even the greatest in the world, and Connor Hellebuyck with his injury, things happen. Life happens, right? So with Winnipeg being such a good team over the last couple of years, with it being all in on its core already through Hellebuyck, Scheifele, Morrissey, that Kyle Connor extension, Niederreiter, Vlad Nebestikov all re-signing, there is no way you're going to take a guy who you've used mostly as your second line center, who's the captain and heartbeat of the culture of the team that's been totally transformed in the last few years, and then start quibbling about, what if he's dropping in his performance at age 35, 36? This is a Winnipeg Jets team that wants to win now, and they've proved that a whole bunch of times, even if they're holding on to a playoff spot right now. They're all in. They're all in on Lowry, and they should be. They're all in on this core, and that we've known about for a while. And they're all in on their lore as a franchise, because he goes back with Scheifele and others all the way back to 2011 when this whole thing began. This is a Winnipeg Jets move for the Winnipeg Jets, and an aging curve isn't really going to make it a move that they shouldn't have made.
I can't tell if Ezzy's going or not.
I left you speechless. I'm
no.
I'm nervous.
I was trying to decide if Ezzy was going. I try and stick in order. Ezzy, do you want to go, or do you want me to?
I think Ezzy's maybe having some technical difficulties, Dave. So jump ahead.
All right. Well, you know what, Murat, we did a special edition of Illegal Curve yesterday. We barely scratched the surface of all the topics. I mean, maybe we'll delve. We talked about it already. We gave our impressions of what happened with the Nikolaj Ehlers return, but maybe just take us through your thoughts on what it was like being obviously there for morning skate and seeing him there, and also just the reaction he got from the fans, both the positive And the negative.
Yeah, it was funny. That smattering of boos during the power play there, I think it was in the first period.
Yeah.
Where every time he touched the puck, he got a little bit of boos. It was almost as though there was a different wave of Jets fans that didn't like that, because it was soon drowned out by a "Go Jets, Go" chant, which you don't always hear during a penalty kill situation for Winnipeg. So
right.
That was kind of neat. And later in the night, there was kind of a Logan Stanley chant versus a Morgan Barron chant. They're great fans, great fans. So Nikolaj Ehlers coming back. The first thing is, after you watch a guy play in Jets colors for 10 years, the red and white just looks weird. It just the Hurricanes logo looks weird on him to me.
Those Hurricanes uniforms last night were not the nicest kit combination I've ever seen displayed in an NHL game, regardless of the weirdness of Ehlers wearing it.
Bring back the whale. That's all I got to say on.
Well, there were a bunch of Whalers fans there.
Oh, were there? Yeah, I didn't see that one actually. That's great.
Right in front of us, right where we sit. There's a whole section of them. I'm surprised you didn't see them. They were. Well, I'm a little bit further to the right than you are, so maybe that's why.
2 feet are gonna. Oh, geez, I don't know why I didn't see that. I saw the big Denmark flag. That was a fun one, and clearly, and you clipped this, didn't you? Where you showed Nikolaj Ehlers and all the pucks that he was handing out, and all that. Yeah. It was a special moment for him. It was a special moment for a lot of Jets fans, though not literally every Jets fan considered his return special. And didn't it have to go that the way the game gets decided is on vintage Nikolaj Ehlers going downhill on the power play with the no look we've seen him pull off a whole bunch of times and finds the open seam? And I was talking to Darren Bombing after the game. He went to the Hurricanes room, and he's pretty sure, based on what he heard there and what the guys were saying, that was a Nikolaj Ehlers read of what was available to Carolina on the power play. So I go back to all these conversations I had with Ehlers in the last couple of years on the Jets power play, where he's saying, well, yeah, I made this play because I saw this. Gabriel Velarde and I were saying we saw this angle across the net. And just that's one of the strengths that he has. Winnipeg could use another dynamic forward like that. But I think we'll have to get used to those weird colors on them.
The Jets are going to have to get used to Connor Hellebuyck on the injured reserve, which is not something that has been said at any point during his NHL career, as far as I can remember. Mr. Consistent for the Jets is, of course, out for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Last night, the Jets did a good job in keeping the Carolina Hurricanes outside of the high danger zones at 5-on-5. I mean, you heard Scott Arniel post-game talking about how I think the Hurricanes had one high danger chance in the entirety of the game at 5-on-5. Is this injury to Hellebuyck going to be what sort of locks into your mind the Winnipeg Jets defensive structure that has sort of slipped through the first 20 games of this season?
Well, it had sort of better be, right? The loss is real. The impact of having the best goaltender on the planet and then not for 4 to 6 weeks or whatever that becomes, that's a real concern. Winnipeg had struggled. It had really awful 5-on-5 metrics for the first 15 odd games of the season. Got stuff together and started to improve from about that Vancouver game on the road trip onward. Arniel's right to say that they had been better in this last little while, which happens to coincide with getting the captain Adam Lowry back, getting Dylan Sandberg back. The 5-on-5 stuff has been improving. I think that the next level that they've got to get to, though, is they did have guys buried in their own zone. And that third pair was really struggling with breakout passes last night, to the point where they got Logan Stanley got 3 shifts and Luke Schenn got 2, or the other way around in the third period last night. And that coincided with the Jets transitioning up ice like gangbusters. Hurricanes were sitting back too, but all of a sudden Winnipeg was going up ice. And so I think part of the next step for the Winnipeg Jets at 5-on-5 in terms of getting all this on track, which will protect the goalies, is figuring out how to have 3 pairs that can break the puck out of Winnipeg's zone. You can't go spend time at the other end of the rink if your forwards aren't picking up breakout passes that kick the whole thing off. And that's going to be an area it's tough to see without a personnel change that necessarily getting better right off the hop.
Well, let's talk about that personnel change, because we all know, and it's been well documented, about Luke Schenn's struggles this year. Even when he was, more so in the prime of his career, he wasn't necessarily an everyday player on the teams that he played on. You think back to his Stanley Cup winning time in Tampa Bay, he was not an everyday player for that team. Why is he still sort of a consistent fixture in the Winnipeg Jets lineup, given the on-ice performance that we've seen from him so far this season?
Great question. And usually in these circumstances, especially at the fringe of lineups, I think that the answer must be that the coaches see something in him that they don't see in Colin Miller. Right. And Luke Schenn's strengths are many. He's a hoser in the best way. He's a leader in that room. There's a way that he approaches the game that I think people respect. He has a physical element to him when he's quick enough to get into spots to really use it, or in certain battle situations. And also, he's slow, and he's not made up for that with quick puck movement decisions. So he's really gotten buried. And so why would the Winnipeg Jets keep using him? And I guess it comes from a lack of confidence in Colin Miller. It might come from enjoying the theoretical physicality or the veteran side of things. Guys, it's been like 20 years since I built a team of any kind, and it wasn't a hockey team. It was like a staff, right? But I do remember this distinct sense of you get your big rocks in place first, your must-haves, you get all the keys together, then your second wave of like the next biggest priorities. And when you get to the fringe of the roster, so to speak, at least as I recall it from this other context, it's really about vibes. It's okay, well, what are we missing in the main group of the must-haves? And I sometimes wonder if that's what the Winnipeg Jets decision is with Luke Schenn.
Rod, you can hear me right now, right? We're good?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Label me listening.
Yeah, I will admit I spilled coffee all over my keyboard. and so
during the break.
My tracking pad isn't really working right now, so that's kind of what happened. So I apologize, Murat, for my unprofessionalism.
Related news: we've started a GoFundMe page to get Ezzy a real like travel coffee mug with a lid on it, so that this doesn't happen yet again. So if you want to join our GoFundMe, you can do that. Just search it up. Ezzy's travel mug is what we're looking for.
What's the popular one these days? Stanley or Yeti or what's?
There's some other fancy water bottle that I don't even know. Go ahead, ask your question.
Murat, where are we at right now, or where are you at right now with your assessment of the Taves, Perfetti, Nemesnikov line? I realize that there was some line juggling happening there in the second half of the game, but what are your overall thoughts on where that line is at? Because obviously, yesterday probably you'd agree wasn't the best night for that line.
Yeah, I have time for that line. I think that the formation of that line more or less coincides with Jonathan Taves kind of getting his shot metrics above 50%. He's struggled a lot in terms of just the flow of play, zone time type stuff throughout the season. Obviously, a lot of strengths and hockey IQ there, and lots of good things that he does on a given night. But previous versions of the Taves line stayed in their own zone. It was almost 2-1. They were getting like 35% of shots, and that's not good enough from a second line. This version is doing better in terms of shot share. This version is spending more time at the other end of the rink. And wasn't it that line that got burned on that 16-second goal to kick off the game, if I've got my memory straight? And you see that they haven't really started to score at even strength either. And that's a problem for me. I look at the awful shooting percentage that they have. I look at the awful save percentage behind them, and I say, hey, if you keep the flow of play as it is, if you keep getting into the offensive zone, if you keep at least getting those shots on net and all of that, it's going to come. And to the degree that the Jets stay patient with it, I think in 2 weeks' time we could be talking about how they've really finally clicked and are really delivering for the Jets.
Remember when Scott Arniel would talk about Parker Ford, Brad Lambert, Nikita Chibrikov, he talked about them as part of the team. And I think the real idea for keeping them for 2 months in training camp was they would they would be part of the foundation of this team from the outset. They would be, if they got recalled in December, January, February, whatever month they got recalled, they would come up and feel like we're not comfortable here. we have a part of this because we've been here since the beginning of the season. Sure, we got sent down in November, but that's fine because we already are comfortable with everybody on the team organizationally from top to bottom. And when I talked to Parker Ford when he got sent down to the Moose, and we talked to him after the practice this week, one of the things he talked about was that very sentiment that you could go up and the transition is going to be easy, which is bringing me to my question for you, which is about Brad Lambert. Because, again, Brad Lambert, to me, was just as much, I mean, scores his first goal in the NHL this season, obviously only played the 4 games, but he was just as big a part of that as the other two, even though he didn't play as many games. But from your perspective, were you a little surprised at the news this week? And I will qualify it by saying 2 years ago, it was Logan Stanley asking for a trade, and Logan Stanley's currently still wearing a Jets uniform. So just because a guy is disgruntled and it becomes public doesn't mean it's the end of the relationship, which is what Scott Arniel alluded yesterday in our media availability with him. But from your perspective, are you a little surprised about the timing, given that Lambert hasn't exactly, torn the roof off the place with his 7 goals in the AHL last year?
Yeah, I think one of the really important things to keep in mind is kind of what you said. The relationship isn't broken at all. Mm-hmm. If this was an awful situation, you'd have Lambeau not reporting to the Moose, you'd have him not practicing, you'd have him not playing, you'd have more than this. So what I think happened, though I don't know, is that Frank Saravalli, whose report is accurate, that Brad Lambert's representatives do have permission from the Jets to find trading partners, just to call teams, to talk to them and say, hey, here's a situation in Winnipeg, and we think Brad Lambert's an NHL player. Reach out to the Jets if you see value there, that kind of thing. That doesn't mean a relationship is broken. Mm-hmm. I think probably Frank Saravalli got that from, an executive or a GM of another team or something to that effect. I don't think that the Jets are leaking that because they want to have their business taken care of privately. Mm-hmm. The other thing to talk about is the timing, like you're talking about, Dave, is like so soon after he gets demoted, right? And so we assume he gets assigned to the Moose, and now he's upset for the first time. And I actually think that this is a conversation that Winnipeg has been trying to sort out for like 18 months. Like it's been a time. You take Lambeau out of that AHL All-Star season that he had, and all the hype that was building around him, and then he gets assigned, and clearly his performance didn't handle it well. Last year was a really tough year for him. 7 goals, like you say, it's tough to make your case. I'm an NHL player. Well, I'm in the AHL and not I don't dominate there. That's a tough case to make. Right. So I think that there's been some maybe disagreement about whether Brad Lambert is an NHL player at this stage of the game or not. Mm-hmm. I think Winnipeg wants to stay patient, as they always do. And I think they want to say, hey, well, next year or later this year or whatever, when we feel confident you're an NHL player with no qualifiers, come on up. And I think that maybe there's a sense here, and that's why this is happening in terms of trade possibilities, that Lambert and his camp are trying to make the case that he's an NHL player here and now. That's how I read what's going on.
For sure. The only thing again, to me, the timing is just so confusing because he's going to go down. And again, Mark Morrison, the head coach of the Moose, kept them as a line, and they're going to have tons of opportunities on the power play unit. So for me, you go down, you score 10 goals in 12 games. Now you have value. But right now, again, you have 8 goals in the last 12 months. There's not, and again, I'm not blaming Brad Lambert solely. The Moose were the 31st goal scoring team in the AHL last year. So but guys still scored, right? Parker Ford went on a run. Fabian Wagner went on a run. So guys were able to score. But again, I just think it's a very curious timing that it would come out now, given that he could have gone, even if he's unhappy being in the AHL, you'd go down there, you dominate, you score, and then you have some value versus now where there's very little, and the Jets would basically be trading you for a bag of peanuts.
Yeah, I would argue as well, it's not in Lambert and his agent's camp's best interest for this news to come out, really. No. Because you're right. Last year, the AHL offense was a bit of a wasteland, but if you're a top 6 blue chip prospect in the NHL and you're 21 years old like Lambert was, you need to make a difference. Mm-hmm. You need to be able to drive things there, and he wasn't doing that. And now, nobody remembers that 2 years ago he was an AHL All-Star, right? What we remember is that struggling year and the fact he only got into 4 games Ford and Chibrikov got more games and more opportunity than he did. So he's slipping a little bit here. If you're trying to make this news public, your best interest is after a couple of months when, because the Moose are so much better and because he's playing with such good players down there, ideally for him, he goes and tears the cover off the ball for a month or two, and then he gets to make the compelling case. Actually, I am too good for this league. Right now, that's not a proven fact.
Yeah.
And so that probably hurts the chances of an immediate trade, because why would the Jets trade him for a similar AHL player at this stage? It just seems like a situation where the Jets have a lot of leverage, and the only thing Brad Lambert can control is how well he goes out and plays, such that he proves that he is a dominant player at that level and an NHL deserving guy.
Well, to your point, of the other 31 NHL teams, I have trouble believing any of them see Brad Lambert as NHL ready, step into their lineup right now. They might still, trade for him as part of a package deal that include, a young, like you referenced in your article on the Athletic, maybe as a piece in a bigger package, he's got some value, but as a sole driver of a package, I don't think he's quite there given his performance, as Dave was referencing, over the last 12 months. The timing of it is just, it's awkward. I can understand why you look at the Jets roster and you say, hey, there's not a spot for me there because they've gone veteran. They've got all these veteran players, who are ahead of me. I'm going to be bumping my head up against this glass ceiling repeatedly. But it's just the whole sort of picture that has been drawn is an odd one, I think, at best, for Brad Lambert. Murat Atesh of The Athletic is our guest this morning here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Murat, Morgan Barron is sort of the apple of the eye of a lot of people, especially the fan base, who want to see him getting more opportunity, more time, elevated potentially in the lineup as Jonathan Toews maybe, not that he struggles, but that he continues to sort of work his way through becoming an NHL regular again. From your perspective, where is Morgan Barron best suited for this Winnipeg Jets team? Is it in his current role as the fourth line center, or is it higher up playing maybe in an elevated role?
Hey, that's a great question. There's a lot of ways you can draw up the lineup. Excuse me. I think I got a little bit of a cold picking up here. We're not at our best here this morning.
Drink lots of water.
The content has been great. The answers have been great. The voice has been a little scratchy, but the answers have been great.
The good news is that Murat does not. The Athletic sits 5 seats over from Illegal Curve, so we won't. Whatever he's got, it'll take a while to work its way down to us.
Dave shows up on Sunday wearing a fully encased.
I'm just gonna have like a divider. It'll provide all of it from getting onto our side of the press box.
Fair play. And we're remote today, so here we go. Morgan Barron, I like that he's the apple of the eye of a lot of Jets fans right now. That speed is unmatched on the Winnipeg Jets. I was looking at the NHL Edge data for it, and the top speed that he's hit, something close to 23 miles per hour, the number of speed bursts that he's had. Winnipeg doesn't have a lot in that regard. Cole Koepke's close, but not at that level. I looked through Carolina's roster, and you've got Ehlers, you've got Svechnikov, you've got Seth Jarvis is even faster than those two guys, Eric Robinson. Like, you can go pretty deep, and there's a ton of speed there. Winnipeg really has Morgan Barron and Cole Koepke, and they're both mostly on the fourth line. I think Morgan Barron's size and speed could be an asset to the Jets in the middle six in that way that Winnipeg's had players like Alex Iafallo or Vlad Nemestikov before that have been quote-unquote fourth-line players, but they've earned the right that the moment that the coach needs a different look, they're on the second line or first line or third line or whatever else it is. Maybe that's the next step in Morgan Barron's progression, because I think he adds an element that nobody else does, and he can transport pucks with his speed and his size, and he's a dogged forechecker as well, which a lot of guys are. But yeah, I'm here for Morgan Barron getting more, and I think he's had a really great start to the season.
Rod, I got to take it to the Olympics, because I don't know about you, but I'm really starting to think more and more about the Olympics coming up, and I'm getting really excited about it. And I think at least one other player that's getting excited for it is Mark Scheifele. And, he's obviously off to a great start. What's he up to with this? I think 28 points now in 20 games. Is he playing so well that Team Canada can't exclude him from this roster? Like, I realize that There's a lot of talk. You mentioned Seth Jarvis. I think there's a good chance Seth Jarvis makes the team. He was on the Four Nations team. There's a lot of talk about guys like Macklin Celebrini and Connor Bedard, Nick Suzuki. Like, where would you put his chances right now? Like, on the Scheifele make the team-o-meter? Are we? Is it super high? Like, is it Hockey Canada picks him, or where are we at here?
I'm over 50% on Mark Scheifele being a Canadian Olympian. I think that they gave him the respect of, when he went on that tear last season, of making him that alternate, even though he didn't end up playing at Four Nations, then to participate in the camp in Calgary, to come out to the start that he's had. Sometimes the first line's had defensive issues as always, but they've more than outscored those problems. And Scheifele's been, really a driving force behind that. I think there's also situations elsewhere where other Canadian players who may have been locks heading into the season, like an Anthony Cirelli type, or you could name almost anybody on the Panthers or Lightning at this stage. That
Brandon Hagel,
where there's been a drop off and some job opportunities may be opening up. I think it comes down to what type of construction Team Canada wants to have, because you also hear, well, hey, we can't have Connor Bedard because we need Tom Wilson on this team. And that's a stylistic type of choice. That's, in my opinion, leaning a little bit too heavily into that one Four Nations game against the States, the round robin one, where things got super physical. I don't think that that's going to be your game at the Olympics. So a lot of it has to do with vibes. I expect Mark Scheifele is good enough and fits the style well enough to be a probable Team Canada player. But they may also go for the reputed two-way grit physicality type stuff down towards the bottom of the lineup.
Bring back Zamner. That's what we all want. We want Rob Zamner back. Along the same lines, Murat, Connor Hellebuyck vis-a-vis the Olympics. We know he's out 4 to 6 weeks. I mean, that timeline should put him back to full health, ahead of the time of the Olympics beginning, and even give him some games under his belt before the Olympics. But Connor Hellebuyck has been very consistent throughout his career that the thing that matters most to him is, of course, winning a Stanley Cup. How do you think this injury will impact his availability, let's say, and his choice about going to the Olympics or not going to the Olympics?
Yeah, I guess it's theoretically possible that he or the Jets or anybody kind of, gets into a situation where the focus is on the Stanley Cup. Maybe January doesn't feel as good as he wanted to and he doesn't go. I don't think that's the case. I think that the Olympics mean something to him. I think that the opportunity to represent Team USA on that level is going to mean a lot to him. So I still expect him, 6 weeks takes us to basically New Year's, right? So I still expect him to be gearing up as if he's the American starter. He played 3 of 4 games for them at Four Nations and was really good at that tournament. So I think that he's gearing up for that. Now, Scott Arniel, of course, told us that that's not the Jets' concern, that it's about playing into the spring in that deep playoff run. Mm-hmm. That's also incredibly important and probably, I don't know how you choose between dreams, but probably even more important. From Hellebuyck's perspective as well. What's clear is that this had to happen. If you're playing the long game at all with Connor Hellebuyck, and remember, he's the reason why there's a Stanley Cup window here in Winnipeg at all right now, you need him healthy, and you need to be able to do things like this, where a problem that's been nagging him in that knee since training camp, they tell us, can be addressed and can be dealt with, so he has a chance to do either of those things, and maybe even both.
Well, then just one last follow-up before we let you go on your Saturday morning. The 6 weeks off the ice, or the 4 weeks to 6 weeks he's not going to be playing in goal for the Winnipeg Jets, will obviously lessen his workload, lower than almost any number we've seen from him in the last decade or so in terms of his games played. What are the domino effects of that going to be? We've heard for years, we want to get him fewer games. We want to get him fewer games. We want to get him fewer games. Well, now he's going to get those fewer games. So what's the domino effect of that? Or what do you foresee the domino effect of that could be come playoff time? By the way, with an asterisk, if the Jets qualify, because it's certainly no sure thing at this point.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like there's a level of sports science and medicine that if we're really going to be honest about answering this question and not going on vibes, that like I don't have, because there's been different studies done on whether fatigue is a cumulative thing, season over season, month over month, or whether the most important thing to do is to manage the game density. How often has he played in these last 2 weeks, last month, last 2 months? Some studies say, and this goes back to when Andrei Vasilevsky suddenly had an awful season, that there is year-over-year cumulative fatigue effects. And there are reasons to fear when guys become workhorses like that. So I can't say that I know with a fact, for a fact, that this is going to be good, because I'm sure he'll be playing plenty of games down the stretch anyways. It will be unique in Winnipeg Jets history because he's played 60 games so consistently since he became a starter. Nobody is close to him in games played in the National Hockey League. I think it's Vasilevsky in number 2, who's like 40 or 50 games behind him, going from 2016-17 to now. So we've never seen it. And if he has a brilliant playoffs, I think we're all going to agree that it was what rested him up that gave him the opportunity to do that, right? Like, they've never tried it that way. They've never managed him below 60 or something to that effect. So this is, through injury and through surgery, the first time we'll ever know.
The internet tells me that you should gargle with marshmallow root to cure a sore throat. I assume you have a ready supply of marshmallow root in your kitchen at all times. I do recommend. The internet is telling me to gargle with marshmallow root to make sure that your throat is feeling tip top for tomorrow between the Jets and the Wild.
What about salt water? That's like a thing. Does people still do that?
Yeah, you know what salt looks like. What is a marshmallow root even gonna? Anyway.
I have no idea. I had to delve deep into the dark nether regions of the internet.
I had no idea marshmallows grew on trees. Look, we learned something.
Murat Atesh of The Athletic, thank you. Have a great Saturday. We'll see you at the rink tomorrow. Feel better. We'll do this again real soon.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Lots of water, Murat.
There you go. Murat Atesh, always great insight.
Not coffee though, because that can ruin his computer.
Yeah. Exactly. If you need any coffee, it's just dripping out of the
as he's just turning his computer
on
right now. Like you guys didn't see what was going on behind the scenes because
we did.
We saw it, man.
We could see your little. We saw you like getting some paper towel and going like this.
It went under the keyboard. It went on top of the keyboard. Okay. It went all over the table. It went under the table. There was a lot of cleaning up happening, but I think I've got it under control now. The tracking pad is working, so we're going to be good, boys, for the second half of the show.
Well, time will tell, and I'll cross our fingers for that to be.
As he's definitely not going to be on when we come back from break.
We'll go to break. We come back, more on the Winnipeg Jets. They play the Wild tomorrow. We'll give our take on the Lambert trade request. All sorts of fun to come in hour number 2. And, of course, a Manitoba Moose Minute. Dave, I promised Dave an extended one, so that'll happen later on in hour number 2 as well. And Jesse Pierce to join us to talk about the Wild. Drew Mandel, Dave Minuk, Ezra Ginsburg. Saturday morning, the Illegal Curve Hockey Show is presented by Play Now, and it continues after these commercial messages.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
Hour number 2 starts now, even though it's 10 minutes after the top of the hour, but that's the kind of clocks we subscribe to here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Oh, good. I see the light is coming towards Ezzy again. That's always a good milestone in today's show. The coffee, now the light, Ezzy, it's, that's okay. It's okay. You keep your camera the way it is. You're looking sharp. There you go. Spency says that Ezzy is his label daddy, and that's probably something that's true. I don't really know what it means, but
Spency is my sugar daddy.
Yeah, you guys are both daddies, is what you are in your own special ways, I guess. Brad Lambert, trade request. I mean, this one's a bizarre one. I got to tell you guys. I mean, I saw this and I had to chuckle. I'm like, okay. I mean, and I think Murat did a very good job articulating the situation and the different machinations at play here. But, I don't know anybody who's watched Brad Lambert. And Dave, you've seen Brad Lambert play hockey more than probably anybody in North America, over the last, 12 to 24 months. And this is a ready-made NHLer. This is a guy who's ready to step in and contribute significantly for a team, even a bad team in the NHL, I might add. So him, asking to be moved, to a different organization. And, it's not that he's publicly upset or saying anything that's questioning his professionalism. So I think it's worth noting along those lines. It's not, that he doesn't like Winnipeg as a city. He's just looking for another organization with a greater opportunity. But as Murat said in the previous segment, the only way that opportunity is going to come is by going and ripping the cover off the ball, if you want to use a baseball term, and proving that you are too good for the AHL, and as a result, ready to step up as he just vanishes into the ether.
Well, you said step up, so as he decided, I'm going to step up.
Step off. Yeah, exactly. I guess you've watched Lambert more than anybody. Your thoughts when you saw the report come out from Frank that he's looking for a new opportunity elsewhere?
Yeah, no, it's surprising given what has gone on. As I said, nobody had success, but Murat makes a good point. Just because your team didn't score doesn't mean you shouldn't have stepped up a little bit more than you did. 7 goals is a decrease. I think he had 17 the prior season. So, 21, I think maybe the prior season. So it was a decrease from what he had the year before, as Murat said, where he was an all-star for the Manitoba Moose. And it's just a function of a guy who, you listen to Scott Arniel and Kevin Chevel, they often, Drew, I put the comments in the thing. I don't know if you can play them, but...
I can. I'll pull it up here in a second.
Well, I just think that they're both very.
You want to do Chevy first? Or you want to do Morgan Barron first?
Either one doesn't matter because both comments are relevant to this conversation. I think so. Either one can, but I just think that I just thought it was the timing of them was very curious. Right? Here's Morgan Barron.
Hang on, let me press play.
Yeah, that's usually.
Yeah, I mean it's tough to break into the league. I think about trying to break into New York was kind of where I started, and I think that was a team that was trying to compete. We're obviously a team that's trying to compete and kind of an older group, so. It can be really difficult. You know, you're kind of getting games here or there. Obviously, kind of depends on injuries, things like that. But just for them to get in, I think we all saw flashes of what they can do individually and how they can contribute to our team. So it was really fun having them around. Really enjoyed kind of getting to know them all a little bit more. And obviously, I think they all have a future in this league. So it'll be good for them to go down and play. And then I think once we do see them again, we'll see kind of that next step that they're going to take. Yeah.
And that to me, Drew, is just, it's Morgan Barron experienced that with the New York Rangers, right? He was a guy who wanted more opportunity, and then he gets dealt to Winnipeg. And I mean, he obviously played a couple games for the Moose, but the point is he eventually earned that opportunity, but he wasn't going to get it in New York because they were a win now team versus a team that would allow, I mean, look, they're not the San Jose Sharks. They're not the Chicago Blackhawks, which can afford to have some of these guys in the roster and making mistakes, but at the same time developing. So some teams will make that organizational decision to allow prospects to develop there. Others would obviously prefer it to happen at the American Hockey League level. So I just thought Morgan Barron's comments again, and remember, to be clear, Morgan Barron was talking about it from a positive perspective. He was just talking about the impact they had. I just thought his comments were telling, as were Kevin Cheveldayoff's, who essentially was, again, talking about Chicago and Utah, because that was the question when he was on with Kipper and Bourne, and he was talking about this idea of those organizations, young, really good, really talented, but he was talking about the idea of youth, and I just thought it was relevant here, Drew.
Well, let's hear what Kevin Cheveldayoff had to say about that along those same lines. This is with he's on Sportsnet 590 with Nick Kyprios and Jason. Who is it?
Justin Bourne.
Justin
Bourne. Not Jason Bourne.
No, not Jason Bourne. I'm a different character altogether.
And on your team yet, it's like, oh, well, you're young, and oh, geez, you're exciting. The interesting part about the National Hockey League is and players, is what happens when there is pressure and when there is expectations. And, that's always the hard part with young players. Every young player wants to get there so fast. And, we keep telling them all the time, it's not about getting there fast. It's about staying here long. And you don't want to get chewed up and spit out, in the National Hockey League. So expectations are probably the next thing that all these teams, that are getting better are going to have to face. And on your team yet.
So, I mean, again, you just have I just thought it was interesting, right, Ezzy, because he was talking about two other teams, but then kind of almost directed it internally to maybe Brad Lambert to say, like, we want you to be in the NHL for the long time, not for, just to get you in and then not have you have success. So I just thought those comments were interesting given the news, Drew, the other day. And I just think that it becomes a function of, I just don't understand like I said to Murat, my question to him, to me, the question, or my statement, I guess, was I just found it curious timing because I don't see how it plays to his advantage to not go down to the American Hockey League, score 10 goals in 12 games, and then be a player that they're like, oh, well, he's too good for the American Hockey League on a Moose team that's just winning a lot of games, so he's having success. That's great. Then you have a lot more leverage. Right now, what's your leverage? 8 goals in a calendar year?
Well, never mind leverage. I mean, if he goes down to the AHL and he proves that he's too good for the AHL, big if, but if it were to occur, I don't doubt that the Winnipeg Jets would find room for him. I know that they are a veteran-laden team, but I don't think that they are wed to the idea of being only a veteran-laden team. Yeah. I think they would love to have a young player from the Moose earn a spot. What did we talk about all training camp? We talked about how with Nikolaj Ehlers gone, there is an opportunity. There's an opportunity for somebody to come up and, use their speed, which the Jets are clearly the second slowest team in the NHL, according to the latest NHL Edge data. Yet, that there's an opportunity there. So I don't know how going, asking your reps to go find you a trade partner or find you a new opportunity is going to be the best solution for you as a player. I mean, if you're Brad Lambert, and I'm not saying he's not doing this at the Moose level, Dave, you would know that better than anybody, and you can speak to that, now and then when we do the Moose Minute later on in the show, you can speak to, go out there, dominate at that level if you can, and then see what opportunities await on the other end. Build back your trade value, because I promise you that logically the Jets are going to be in the market to make a trade at the trade deadline or in and around that time period. If all of a sudden Brad Lambert is viewed as an asset by 31 other teams, the Jets will be glad to see him go flourish somewhere else if it means that they get a player back in return that they want.
100%. And I think something that we need to keep in mind here, and we talked about it with Murat when we asked him about Brad Lambert, this does not mean at all that there's a trade imminent or that a trade is going to happen at all.
I'd be surprised if there is, because what value does he have?
Well, it's that also, but also the Jets have all the leverage. Like Brad Lambert is waiver exempt, Dave, I believe, till the end of next year, right? So not just this year, but he's at waiver exempt.
You might be right.
Right.
I'm trying to think. Hold on, I got to think about it. Think. Yeah, because I think he. Maybe I'll look it up.
Murat, I believe, mentioned it in his article. That's why
I think he's got one more year. I think you're right. He's got one more year.
Yeah, so I got to give a shout out to Murat. He mentioned it in his article for The Athletic.
Okay.
So I just don't know, like, if you're
it's
the Jets.
It's Chibrikov's story that is done after this year.
Yeah, because he's a year older than
he's
than Lambert, right?
Yeah.
So Lambert's waiver exempt for one more year after this year, and if you're the Jets and this news comes out, I mean, now you're trading from a position of weakness, are you not? Mm-hmm. Or you're not. This is, like Murat said, this is not news that you wanted to come out, right? Clearly, this is something that's been going on for a little while. I don't think. Brad Lambert and his agent and the Jets just woke up one day and were like, you know what, I think we want to trade. This is something that, like, ongoing discussions happen and everything like that, right? So I think that's something to keep in mind, that from the Jets' perspective, I don't know why they would be rushing to trade Brad Lambert, especially if it's going to be a lateral move. Like, to Drew's point, I think if you are, and this is a big if, you are trading Lambert, you're probably trading him for a similar 20, 21, 22-year-old forward, right? Like, you've invested all this time in him, right, Dave? Like, late first-round pick. You've developed him with the Moose for the last few years. Like, you're not going to just give him away, like, if you're going to trade him, right? Yeah. So, like, it's kind of difficult to find a trading partner and what would be a good match. Like, you'd have to look at other teams and, I guess, other prospects that maybe have developed a little bit slower, I guess. And I think that's the thing to me that, people forget he's 21 years old. Mm-hmm. Right, he's still very young. He's not a bust or anything like that. But to Drew's point, now that the Jets are healthy and they've got Adam Lowry back and they've got Gus Nyquist back and Cole Koepke back and Cole Perfetti, these players are better than Brad Lambert at this point in his career. And I'm not saying that I don't think Lambert has a high upside. I do. I think he's got all the tools, Dave. I mean, you've watched him play a lot. He struggled to score goals. Sometimes it's almost like, can his hands keep up to his feet type of thing sometimes, right? So I think, I don't think this is Jack Roslovic 2.0. I really don't. Like, I don't think this is another situation where, like,
Jack Roslovic was an NHL player when he and the Jets organization had their falling out.
But remember there was a lot of talk back in the day, Drew, of, Roslovic should be the Jets' second-line center, or he should be giving more time. And he was kind of more a bottom six guy when he was with the Jets.
Totally.
And I don't think that's...
There's an argument to be made that Paul Maurice mishandled Jack Roslovic. I mean, given that, Roslovic has carved out for himself a bona fide
22
NHL
goals last
career.
year.
Yeah, he's carved out for himself, and he's doing well in Edmonton. He's one of the only bright.
He's playing well in Edmonton.
Yeah.
And 15 points in 21 games.
And the one thing I would interject about Jack Roslovic let me go back and figure out the exact year, in 17-18. Jack Roslovic was the best player. I say this with a little bit of bias because I didn't watch, or I should qualify my comment because I don't watch all the AHL games, but he was the best player in the Central, and he was the best player probably in the West. I mean, and probably one of the best top 5 guys in the American Hockey League. So my point, to the point that Ezzy's making, let me finish it off, is that you had a guy who went down to the AHL and he was the best player every night, every single night for the Manitoba Moose. I mean, and that was a good Moose team. Mason Appleton was on that team. They were a good. Sami Niku, of course, Ezzy was on that team. They had a really good team that year. But Roslovic was a big part of it because he was a driver. And I think the consensus that we're trying to reach here is that for Brad Lambert to have value, He needs to become a driver at the American Hockey League level, which he was not last year. Now, again, the big statement is nobody was really a driver on that team, but someone has to step up. Someone has to grab the keys, Ezzy, and drive the Chevy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was that a pun?
No, I guess I could have said the Ford because Parker Ford is down there. That would have made it more.
Okay.
That would have made it more punny.
Okay, fair enough. I didn't know if that was a deliberate pun or not.
I thought about it, but it really.
Car, Chevy,
Yeah,
GM, trade.
Yeah, I know.
You can see how the dominoes would fit there.
I tried to lay it out a little bit, but it's all good.
Okay, it was a good effort. I appreciate your effort at wordsmithing there.
Thank you.
But anyways, go ahead, Aziz.
Well, no, I think the thing with not Roslovic. The thing with Brad Lambert is I'm personally hoping that the Jets hang on to him because I think there's, like I said before, I think there's a bright future for him. I think he's still putting together his game at the pro level. And I think you have to, I've said it once, but you have to remind yourself he's 21 years old. He's relatively young. I'm not saying, Drew, that he's going to be projects as a 35-goal, 70-point guy at the NHL level. I'm just saying that I think he, like we've said already today, this morning, we've talked about this a lot. He's got to establish himself. He's got to play a significant role with the Moose and then prove that he can produce at that level. And then the Jets will call him up and reward him into the lineup. But right now, there's too many veteran players ahead of him right now. Could you have Brad Lambert on the fourth line over a guy like Cole Koepke or Tanner Pearson? Sure. But I think you could make an argument about that. I think he played well in his 4 games. I think it was with the Jets, right?
Yep.
I just don't see any. I'd be shocked if there's any sort of imminent trade happening here because I just don't see any value. I just don't see any team, making the Jets an offer that's going to be worthwhile.
Doesn't that make you wonder who put that out there then, Drew?
Well, I'll tell you what. There's something to be said that maybe what the Jets could have done is if maybe they've erred in their player evaluation of Brad Lambert, since he had that very good year, and maybe that they should have traded him when the iron was hot or when he had a higher value last year. Maybe that he should have been dealt. When the Jets made their moves at the trade deadline, which were lukewarm moves, pardon the pun there. That wasn't deliberate. But, the Jets maybe should have made a bigger splash and used Lambert at that point in time, if he even still had much value when coming, in the midst of a down year for the Moose. There's an argument to be said that the Jets maybe held on to him for too long if he's not going to develop and that they needed to do a better job with their player evaluation. I'm not going to, I can listen to that argument, but if you're Brad Lambert, just go play hockey, dominate or perform well, and then the world is going to be your oyster. Then there will be 31 teams clamoring to get you under contract and trade for your contractual rights.
Look, I remember when I talked to Pascal Vincent when he was the Manitoba Moose head coach, and one of the things he used to say to me is like, Dave, I would expect guys don't want to be in the American Hockey League when they've been in the NHL. It's not a shocking revelation. You don't want to be here. Now you have to get your head around it. If you're there, you have to be there and you have to be engaged. And look, a guy like Parker Ford, he wasn't on the first or second power play units, even though we're not labeling them as because they're both very good. But the fact of the matter is that everybody, and even Ford was like, okay, I'm gonna have to do the best with what I've given here at the American Hockey League level. And every one of these guys is playing hard now because they're like, well, we want to be the guy who earns that recall if the Jets need one. So there's no time for sour grapes. There's no time for being sad. You get 24 hours. You get 24 hours to be upset with the fact that you've been sent down, and then you have to get over it, and you have to put it. And I will say this again, from what I've seen with Brad Lambert, there's nothing that would indicate that there's anything. He's still one of the last guys on the ice when it comes to practice and skating with his teammates.
Off the ice.
Sorry, what did I say? Did I say
on
first
the
guys
ice. Dave Mook saying culture problems.
No.
Riddled in the Manitoba Moose.
Yeah, no. He's one of the last guys to come off after practice, and
his work ethic is still strong.
No, it's still it's good. And again, like I said, he seems to be he doesn't seem to be outwardly allowing it to manifest itself. So that's a good thing. But I just think that it's out there. Quite honestly, I'm with Ezzy. I don't think anything's happening. I don't think anything's going to come of it. I don't think the Jets have any reason, for the record, to do it unless something, it's funny. I don't know why, but I keep seeing, in my head, I see him as a fit in Calgary in some capacity for a team that is maybe willing to take a shot on a guy and maybe throw him into the lineup. But again, so I think Calgary could be a trade partner eventually for the Jets. I just don't see that it's going to be right now. I think that you have to drive up. He has to drive up his value. And again, if he drives up his value, maybe the Jets do. So, maybe the Jets retain him because they like what they see.
Let's go ahead.
No, my final thought is, I just think it's interesting. I think it's noteworthy. I suspect we won't be talking about this very much longer, and I think it'll just be like the Logan Stanley one or Ville Heinola, who I said the Jets have a problem with Finnish first rounders at year 3, because remember in 2022, Ville Heinola wasn't so happy with his situation. Oh, by the way, 3 years later, he's still a member of the Winnipeg Jets. Yeah. So I just think those paint a tale to you as to what the likely outcome is going to be for Brad Lambert.
Well, Lambert, Vesalainen, Heinola, they can join the disgruntled Finnish Winnipeg Jets society, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, all I was going to say is when rumors like this pop up, I don't know if we call it rumors, let's call it a report. When reporting like this comes up, I always think, like, how much does this affect the player and his situation? Because now and like Frank is our boy, obviously, and he's doing his job by putting this out there. So this isn't like a knock on Frank or anything like that. Mm-hmm. But I often wonder how this affects, if it does affect a player, because now everybody knows that there's a possible trade coming, or at least they have discussed possible trades, right? That's all I'm saying. I mean,
I think the business side doesn't really. I don't think the teammates worry about other teammates' business side of the game.
No, I don't think it's teammates. I don't think it's necessarily coming from internally with teammates. Just the fact that it's out there. Just the fact that it's out there in the media, like, does that affect him at all mentally? Like, I'm not saying that, like, he's going to struggle offensively or he's going to struggle with the team. I'm just saying, like, that we all agree that's something that I don't think anybody really wanted out there. I don't know how that. I mean, I guess from Lambert's side, you could say it benefits him because that possibly drives up interest, where it may be some teams, but I don't really think that's the case. Like, I don't think there's like teams out there that saw this report and they were like, "Oh yeah, Brad Lambert," yeah, maybe we should get a little interested in him.
There were 31 team fan bases that said such, but no, you're right. There's not. I mean, let's put it this way: there were 3 scouts at the Moose game.
Right.
It's not like suddenly there was like 50 scouts at the Moose game and everybody was clamoring to watch.
Yeah. Guys, all I'm saying,
the only PJ that was gassed up at the airport to fly scouts in and out was your PJ, Dave. That's the
right.
only one.
Good point.
But you know what I mean? Like, all I'm trying to say is, like, I just don't think he necessarily wants people to look at him. And I'm not saying his teammates. I'm just saying, like, fans really, or anybody, like, looking at him like he's on the record or he's out there saying he doesn't like to be here or he wants a trade. That's all I'm saying. Mm-hmm. When you step back, there is a human there's a human element to this, right?
Don't look at me. I'm hideous.
Drew's the elephant man.
Jesse Pierce is going to talk to us about the Minnesota Wild on the other side of the commercial break. That was actually Kramer, and remember when he lets all the cigar smokers?
Cigars. Yeah.
He lets them in.
Sorry, I should have realized this is not a cultured show.
What I'm trying to figure out is, how is that like Brad Lambert not wanting people to know about him?
Well, you
said he didn't want to draw attention.
Look at you. Look at him. So I decided to take it
figuratively speaking.
Yeah, okay. Figuratively. You got to clarify.
He didn't qualify there, has he?
Jesse Pierce up next. It's Saturday morning. It's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It continues, presented by Play Now.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling sites instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
Do our profits benefit your community?
No.
Or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Center. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Center.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh, boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
We are back, hour number 2 of the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. It's presented by our friends at Play Now. They're the title sponsor of our programming. Play Now wants to send you and a guest to Toronto for a triple header to see the Leafs, Jays, and Raptors all in one epic getaway. Learn how to enter at playnow.com, the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. The Minnesota Wild head to Winnipeg tomorrow afternoon. That means we head to Minnesota to talk to Jesse Pierce of NHL.com and the Bar Down Beauties podcast. Jesse, good morning. Thanks so much for joining us. How are things in the land of 10,000 lakes?
No snow yet, and the Wild are winning, so they're focused on that. The Vikings, we don't need to talk about them.
Yeah,
so otherwise, things are good. Things are good here in Minnesota.
Yeah, no snow here either. So, we're it's odd for both of our respective regions, but I think we will all take it nonetheless. Less winning here in Winnipeg. The winning is certainly happening in Minnesota with the Wild. 8-1-1 in their last 10. Winners of 4 in a row for a Wild team that, once upon a time was 3-6-3. What has been the catalyst of this 10-game turnaround that we've seen as of late?
I think somebody had said that there's like a new moon in the orbit, or there's something going on, or maybe it's a simple change of the month. I honestly have no idea. I mean, you can point to the goaltending, you can point to the defense, but that start was so abysmal, and you kind of started to accept it a little bit in October. Like, you know what, maybe this is who the Wild are. The roster itself on paper isn't exactly jumping off at anybody aside from Kirill Kaprizov or Matt Boldy. But the defense, I think, really struggled in October, and they've really finally locked in. You saw that aside from last night's game where the offense started going, you've seen that in many games prior. You look back to Calgary and Anaheim and San Jose, and limiting a lot of these teams, Carolina as well. So I think that's the biggest difference, but it's crazy. It's a night and day team. It's a good thing. Certainly as we start to approach American Thanksgiving next week, we all know the motto about that. But yeah, the Wild have synced it up and figured it out, at least for now. Anyway.
Jesse, Philip Gustafson obviously picked up a shutout against the Pittsburgh Penguins in the Wild's last game, and I think you'd agree he didn't get off to the best start of the season, but lately he's been just lights out. Do you think he's getting enough credit around the league for how well he's playing and how much he deserves credit for? Obviously, there's an entire team that deserves credit, but for this 8-1-1 run that they're on right now.
I think it's him, and I think it's Jesper Velstad. Really, I've actually liked Jesper Velstad's game much better than Philip Gustafsson's to start the year. And, heading into the season, Gus had mentioned the dynamic between those two goaltenders is really a competitive one. With Marc-Andre Fleury, he said it was kind of this buddy mentorship thing. And while Gus has certainly stepped into a mentor role with Jesper, they also really push each other. Jesper had a very bad season last year, and we've seen him bounce back tremendously. Again, another night and day issue there with him. He was really struggling, and as he has said, a place of darkness. But I think him performing well, him getting 2 back-to-back shutouts, him really fighting for that starter's net. Philip Gustafsson was like, hey, I could shut a team out. He loves to do it when it's a 5-0 game, too, it seems, because his last shutout was the opener in St. Louis as well. But across the league, I think Philip Gustafsson, last year had asserted himself a top goaltender, right? I think he put himself in that conversation. You saw it with the $6.8 million extension that Bill gave him, AAV this year. But certainly he's a big part when the offense isn't going, because again, those 5 goals they scored last night in Pittsburgh, I haven't seen happen in I don't know how many games. You have to rely on your goaltender. And when the penalty kill has struggled as much as it had as of late as well, your best penalty killer is your goalie. So Gus certainly in there, but I think it's more so the duo of him and Jesper more than anything.
No, sorry, Dave. Right before you ask a question, it's funny, Jesse. You just mentioned $6.8 million for Philip Gustafsson. Like compared to Kirill Kaprizov's contract, that seems like that's like Canadian Tire money, right?
Everything. You could sign anybody under $10 million. Everyone's like, yes, that's great. What a great deal we got him for. That's how the Wild are feeling right now.
Well, Jesse, as he's leading me perfectly into my question, because Kirill Kaprizov obviously leads the team in points, but did you see anything from him that showed the pressure of like he was already the highest paid Wild player at $9 million. Next season, of course, it'll be $17 million. Did you see any element of that creep in? Because we know often when you sign that big deal, guys feel like now I got to go out and prove that I'm worth that money.
Luckily, no. I mean, I think he was a little, I don't even want to say snake bitten, because while he wasn't scoring goals, he was finding the point sheet in other ways, and he was still winning battles. And obviously, as the team's lone superstar, it's easy for other opposition to really shut him down and render him ineffective, which is great for the opposition. But no, I think Kirill is really good at pushing out the outside noise. Even at camp, before that contract was signed, it didn't seem to affect him. He was still yucking it up with the guys. He was still doing his thing. I think in his head, he knew whatever that dollar amount came down to. It is what it is, and he just wants to play hockey. And it's hard to look at that and be like, but did you want to just play hockey? Because you wanted the 17 mil. I think he'll never admit it. There's obviously pressure, right? I've heard at home games, there's one fan in particular, I don't know who it is, but during this losing streak that they had going, would start the chant, 17 million, and go like that, right? So, I mean, there's fans that are certainly well aware and want to continuously remind him how much that they have really put into Kirill Kaprizov stock. But no, I think Kirill's still going out there doing his thing, and does a really good job. And that's what makes him a superstar, right? Like the elite players aren't going to let some of that noise. And in Minnesota, it's not the Edmonton market, right? It's not necessarily attacking him at every corner per every mistake. Yes, he wants to perform well, but he wants the team to win, and he's going to do everything he can in his power, whether he's getting paid $5 million or 17, I imagine.
I think one of the most impressive parts about the Wild play as of late is that they're doing it without a healthy roster. I mean, you lose Vinny Hinostroza last night, and it sounds like that's going to be a bit of a longer-term injury based on the post-game comments. They're without Vladimir Tarasenko. They're without Ryan Hartman. They're without Marco Rossi. The depth is really stepping up for the Minnesota Wild in the face of this injury bug that it seems like every team in the league. I mean, we know it's a cliche that every team goes through injuries, but it seems like more prevalent than almost in any other year. At least as far as I know, none of these guys were injured in a barbecue-related accident or at a team dinner with a knife fight of some sort.
At least our off-ice antics are tightly tightened up. No, the NHL has a problem there. I don't know. People can't eat. You can't let the players eat, apparently. But no, that being said, I mean, death taxes in the Minnesota Wild getting injured. You go back to last year, Kirill Kaprizov, Jules Eriksson, Matt Zuccarello, Philip Gustafsson. Like, it was up and down, and that was after a hot start. the Wild are kind of doing things in reverse. They started out healthy. Matt Zuccarello, Nico Sturm were the two absentees, but then you lose Zach Bogosian down the way. Nico Sturm close to returning as well. Bogo we saw return last night. But yeah, Marco Rossi, that's a big blow. Vinny Hinostroza has had a really nice season, has been really effective on that third line. That's not going to be great. And the problem is the depth. It's always surprising, right? Because you look, again, on paper, you're like, that's not going to do anything. Ben Jones, Tyler Pitlick, Danila Yurov, who's a young 19-year-old kid, right? You're not looking at him and being like, oh boy, this is going to be a tough one. But yeah, I think you have those guys really stepping up. You also have, again, your goaltending compensating for a lot of mistakes. And then you have, that's where that veteran presence that Bill Guerin is constantly preaching about comes in handy when Jared Spurgeon can be back there and Jonas Brodin can be back to man the back end. And then you still have Ecker up front. Not ideal. You don't want to see it. Again, Marco Rossi we know how important he is to this team, whether people wanted to believe that or not during his off-season dramatics of not being signed. It would not surprise me heading into this year. I already kind of thought Bill Guerin would be looking to make a trade, but with these injuries, it almost seems more of an issue and more of importance for him to look at adding some, because as you mentioned, there's depth and they're doing a nice job stepping up, but how long-term can that be?
Jesse, how would you assess Zeev Buium's first 20 or so games? He's obviously a high draft pick by the Wild. It's like just watching him, it's easy to forget that he's 19 years old.
Yeah, you know what? The thing I love about Zeev is they're letting him play. Minnesota sometimes gets lost in the way of letting the veteran guys play over some of the younger guys. We've seen that with some of the offense. But Zeev, they have let him come in, mistakes and all. He has been fantastic on the power play once in a while. Fantastic at moving the puck offensively. Defensively is where you see some of those blemishes. You see where this is a kid coming straight out of college where all of a sudden, oops, that play is not going to work because these are NHL players. These are not, North Dakota guys or Minnesota guys. It's a very different dynamic. But I love that they're allowing him to make those mistakes. He's moved up and down the lineup. He's been with Spurgeon. He's been with Faber, Damon Hunt, Zach Bogosian, kind of all over the place, trying to find that fit. But he's found a comfort level, too, because when he's on, he's so on. He's got a point-per-player game almost right now at this point with his assists and being able to get the puck in deep. Because, like I said, offensively, so smart, so talented, and is willing to make those plays where Minnesota has your very stay-at-home defensemen sometimes with your Spurgeons and your Bogosians. So it's nice to have that dynamic. And yeah, Zeev just continues to grow and grow every day. Like I said, some of the mistakes still make me cringe. I'm like, oh, buddy, what are we doing here? But he's a young guy, and I love that they're allowing him to make those and keeping him in the lineup to go out there, because when he's on, he is absolutely on, and certainly has been everything I think that he's been jockeyed up to be so far for the Wild.
Well, Jesse, I'll go from one 12th overall pick to another in Matt Boldy, but what have you seen from him in terms of his development path? Because it just seems like a guy, whenever the Jets play the Wild, you can't help but notice him and his presence in the game, and yet it seems like he just doesn't get a lot of recognition around the league and people talking about him. Is that a fair statement?
I think so. I mean, I think the Minnesota Wild don't get enough recognition around the league, right? I know the term of Minnesota mild is out there all the time, and they're a very vanilla team. I'm not afraid to admit that. But Matt Boldy, is another one of those guys that consistency has always kind of plagued him. And again, he's a younger player, right? He's definitely a cornerstone of this franchise. That 7x7 contract that Bill Guerin signed him to is now looking like an absolute bargain because he's going to be a superstar in this league. He's already well on his way. He's a very, very good elite player. And this year, I think he's kind of tamed that inconsistency. He's matured a little bit, and each passing year has gotten better. I put him down for 50 goals this year. He is, I think, 36 away from that, and I actually think he'll surpass Kirill Kaprizov in goal scoring. He's that effective. He's that smart with the puck. Him and Joel Eriksson have something really special too on that line. So I think that really helps. But as long as he has that confidence, I think sometimes when he becomes inconsistent, he turns into that very gripping your stick too tight, trying to do too much. But if he has that confidence going, he's unstoppable. And he's got the size to do it too, which is even better. Last year, we really saw him add that element to his game, that physicality and using his body and using his length, which I think is huge. So I'm sure if people aren't aware of Matt Boldy outside the Central Division or outside the Western Conference, they're certainly going to be familiar with him by the end of this year, because I think it's just sky's the limit for the kid.
Jesse, the Wild, in the first 2 weeks of the season, the month of October, they had the dead last penalty kill in the entire NHL. Since then, for the month of November, much better, much more respectable. It's pushing them up the rankings of the league. What has sort of switched between the early 2 weeks and then the next 3 weeks of the season that has improved the PK so significantly?
Matt Boldy. I mean, you're adding, it's funny because we just talked about this the other day with John Hines, how the league has started to shift, right? Could you imagine putting your star players on the PK ever, or a star player wanting to be there? Because
well, we see Kyle Connor on it for the Jets a lot of times as well.
Exactly. Like now it's the way the league has started to trend toward that way. Because of course you want guys who want to get their minutes and they want to be on there, but also they're able to utilize that. Matt Boldy the other night scoring a shorthanded goal because he was on the PK, right? I mean, I think using players and different personnel like that has really, really helped the Wild, rather than just using, your fourth line guys who are out there just to kind of take a puck to the boot or whatever, or block some shots and do what they can. And then, as I mentioned, like I said, goaltending. I think goaltending is everything, but mostly it's the personnel shift and kind of trying to be more aggressive on the PK. I think the Wild for too long were very, kind of stuck, and now it's like, let's go get the puck too, rather than get hemmed there.
Jesse, just getting away from the Wild for a second, I promise it is a hockey-related question, but I wanted to ask you, because obviously you're in the Twin Cities, the World Juniors are coming up. In less than a month, there is a pre-tournament exhibition game in Bemidji, and, we've all went to the World Juniors back in 1999. That's aging us a little bit here, but we also went to the Grand Forks World Juniors back in, I forget if it was 2004 or 2005. I want to say 2005.
It was the lockout year.
Yeah, so 2005. That was Crosby was a 16-year-old back then.
Yes.
But what's the overall hype of this tournament? Because as you know, in Canada, like, we're completely obsessed with the World Juniors. Like, everybody watches every single game. It's a family tradition, right? For a lot of families here in Canada. What's the excitement level in the Twin Cities for the World Juniors?
I'll admit, I wish it was a little bit more like Canada, because I'm obsessed with the World Juniors. Having worked at USA Hockey, I fell in love with it, but that's where I learned about it. And I think even here in Minnesota and in the U.S. in general, they're fighting that a little bit. A lot of guys are like, well, we don't know these players. We're not quite familiar. Minnesota's familiar with their Minnesota boys. You've got plenty of Gophers. Bob Motzko, obviously leading Team USA, going for that three-peat. Let's go, boys. But no, I mean, I think people are still just trying to get a handle on it. And now I think hockey season is fully in force. I think, during the summer showcase that they had at Ritter Arena in July, I think people weren't in hockey mode. And now that we're getting closer and closer, I imagine the excitement continues to build. They're going to do a great job with FanFest. 3M at Mariucci is a great location. I know Canada's down there with their group, and obviously Grand Casino Arena for US. I'm so excited. And I think once fans get just that little taste and they see even the flavor of the Canadians in town, and you see the Swedes and the Finns and the Germans, all of that, I think, is people start to be like, okay, yeah, let's go. And then obviously, a US-Canada matchup is the dream. Everyone's excited for that. I'm pumped. I can't wait. Personally, I think a gold medal is going to be very hard for the US this year. I think the favorite horse is Canada, obviously. But man, it would be real, real sweet to win on home ice for a change.
Jesse Pierce is with NHL.com and the Bar Down Beauties podcast. The Wild are in Winnipeg to face the Jets tomorrow afternoon. It's always fun when these two rivals get together. Jesse, thanks so much for giving us an update on the Minnesota Wild, and we'll catch up again real soon. Be well.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. There she goes. Jesse Pierce joining us this morning here on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Ezzy, get your finger button pressing exercises done, because you're going to have to hit the button in a minute to bring Dave in for the Manitoba Moose Minute. But before we do that, I want to remind everybody, coming up Wednesday, December the 3rd. So not this coming Wednesday, a week from this Wednesday.
Big party coming up.
Big party. It's not even a party. It's a hullabaloo. It's the Illegal Curve holiday hullabaloo.
No, Drew, we decided to go with Hootenanny.
Did we go with Hootenanny?
Hootenanny, yes.
Oh, pardon me. The Illegal Curve Holiday Hootenanny. Sorry, that makes more sense. At Wednesday, December 3rd, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Boston Pizza on Taylor Avenue, right sort of in the Grand Park Mall area. We're going to be there, the three of us. Tim's going to be there. We want all of you to be there as well. Come celebrate the Illegal Curve holiday season. We'll watch the Jets and the Montreal Canadiens. We'll eat, we'll drink, we'll be merry. We'll do a post-game show. The fun will be had at the Illegal Curve holiday Hootenanny, Wednesday, December the 3rd at 6:30 p.m. Put it in your calendars. We look forward to seeing everybody there. Dave has been absolutely champing at the bit to talk about the Manitoba Moose. They're on fire. Ezzy, press that button.
Put on your antlers. It's time for the Manitoba Moose Minute on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.
I was really hoping as he would have hit a different button. It would have been it would have actually been way funnier
He
if
hits
he
the
did
end
that.
stream button, the show ends.
Yeah. You wanted me to hit a button. You didn't say which button you wanted me to hit. The Manitoba Moose, Ez and Drew and chat. 5 straight wins. People were clamoring.
Love it.
For the to sit in the illegal curve zone for this afternoon's rematch with the Chicago Wolves. But the Moose, again, there were people were upset because the Moose were not jiving. They were not gelling early in the season, and folks were clamoring for change. And why I thought, people were questioning me, saying this team has all this talent and all this ability. Why aren't they doing it? Well, it takes some time. And remember, and I'm not trying to make excuses, but remember, this is the only team in the American Hockey League that doesn't play exhibition games against other American Hockey League teams. They play against the Bisons. So it's not exactly talent versus talent, with all due respect to the kids from the university. But the fact of the matter is that this team took a little longer to kind of get together and find that chemistry. And boy, have they ever. And they're firing, and the goaltending was excellent. I mean, you have to give credit to Thomas Milic, who earned his first recall. Want to give him a shout out. He played as he was a backup, and we talked about him a lot yesterday, obviously on the special edition of Illegal Curve. But the fact of the matter is that how cool for this kid who got passed over in the draft, picked by the Jets 5th overall in 2023. He's done a lot in junior hockey with Seattle. He did a lot for the Manitoba Moose, but also went down to Norfolk. So he went down to the CHL.
Won a gold medal with Canada at the World Juniors.
Exactly. So then you got a kid who's now going, and he's a backup in the National Hockey League. So really cool story for him. We don't know when he's going to get his first start. Don't expect it to be tomorrow. The Jets are practicing at 12:45 out at Hockey for All Center. So maybe we'll get some more insight. Stay tuned for the practice report in that regard. But still, just even backing up, pretty neat for him to be able to have that experience last night in Winnipeg. And the Manitoba Moose, Dom DiVincentis, is going to be the main guy, as is Isaac Poulter, the Winnipegger who is down in Norfolk. So he, of course, has a lot of AHL experience coming over from the New Jersey Devils organization. And he'll form the tandem with Dom. And you've got a really, again, I'm not going to go through all the lines, but the lines are deep. The power play units are stacked. And this team is finding ways. And now I will say, as I mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned it, but for the first time in history, the 30-year history, Moose 1.0, St. John's Ice Caps, and the Manitoba Moose 2.0, they didn't get a shot at home in an entire period of hockey. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. And it's weird because it was one of those odd games. I'm referencing the last game they won 2-1 over Chicago to kick off the 6-game homestand, but they didn't play poorly in the third. Chicago just came out on fire. And then even when the Moose had the puck, shots were getting blocked. Colby Barlow had a chance for a beauty one-timer that he just didn't get all of it. Brad Lambert, the aforementioned Brad Lambert, he also he healed a shot. He probably could have buried it. That was in the first period. But there's a lot of Danny Zhilkin. I know Frosty's going to be excited. Danny Zhilkin's looked really good. He had a nice goal, the game-winning goal on a nice pass by Colby Barlow. And Braden Yager, he made 2 or 3 excellent passes, which shows off his vision. So there's a lot of excitement with good reason for the Manitoba Moose and what we're seeing from guys like Elias Salamonson. I know, folks, there's some consternation in Jets Nation because Elias Salamonson's not on the power play right now. But you know what? The fact of the matter is he's still having success. So
I was going to ask you, with the struggles of the Jets, particularly third pairing right side defense, how has Elias Salamonson looked? I mean, over the last, sample size, let's say, whatever time period you want to provide some insight on.
I mean, guys, he's a right shot Dylan Sandberg. I mean, he's a steady guy who like kills plays, and again, like I said, he doesn't have a tremendous amount of offense, but he is a effective player. I mean, would he look out of place in the NHL? I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, my expectation was he'll get some games in this year on the right side. I mean, I could be wrong in that regard, but I think that the organization would do well to throw him in there and see what he could do. But I mean, to me, yeah, I don't know if they're going to go that route, Drew, because I mean, unless there's an injury, they're not going to do it they're not going to do it because, again, this organization has been loath to put anyone on waivers. So I suspect that's not going to happen. But yeah, I definitely could see that he could get himself a shot. I mean, he plays with bite. He plays a little more I'd say anger than Sandberg. He's a little more aggressive than Sandberg. So, but he's very good at killing plays. And you watch, he's got a very good stick, and he's a really good player, and he's good, and his skating's good. So there's a lot to like from Elias Salomonsson. And again, it would require injury for him to get in there, obviously, because I just don't see them making more moves otherwise. But there's a lot to like from his play. And Ville Heinola, he's actually gotten better of late. He's been playing more effectively. Kyle Clegg has been good. So the whole team is playing well. I mean, they've won 5 games in a row, not by chance, different ways throughout the course of this little streak. And they'll look to make it 6 in a row this afternoon against Chicago.
As only he can do, Ezzy. It's a Manitoba Moose minute. I hope that was worth every penny and all the anticipation that we all had as he was ramping up. He was excited. We were excited. And I feel, satisfied having heard that.
Now, let me tell you about Kieran Walton. Yesterday, he had a goal. No.
You threatened me on the post-game show you were going to spend extra time talking about Kieran.
There's only one problem, Drew. I literally fell asleep while I was writing the morning papers and woke up, and it was super late. So I was like, forget it. I'll get to it this morning. So if you're curious about Kieran Walton, Ezzy, you'll have to wait till I put it out on social media.
I'm more of a Jacob Cloutier Saginaw Spirit guy myself, Dave.
I don't think he unfortunately, Kieran Walton had a goal and 2 assists yesterday. Zach Naring had a goal, but unfortunately Jacob Cloutier, the 7th rounder, did not have anything for Saginaw. So I can't report anything. Neither did Owen Martin, the pride of Oakbank. So we'll see what I can do, but I'll get the prospect updates out there as soon as I finish posting this podcast for those who have not joined us live.
And as Dave mentioned, the Jets will be practicing in about 90 minutes time or so at the Hockey for All Center. So that, of course, will be up on the website in the early hours of the afternoon, let's say. Dave M will have all the latest on the Winnipeg Jets practice. They're gearing up to welcome the Minnesota Wild to town tomorrow afternoon. The post-game show will be tomorrow afternoon, right around that 5:30, 5:40 p.m. mark. So either before your Sunday dinner, or if you're an early Sunday dinner family, after your Sunday dinner, or if you really want to take it to the next level, gather the family around the dinner table, set up the iPad or the computer or whatever, have dinner while watching us do the post-game show. It's like taking your Illegal Curve experience to a whole other realm. That's what you can do when tomorrow afternoon around 5:40, 5:45, we'll get together to talk about the Jets and the Wild as the Jets look to wrap up this 3-game homestand and finish it on a winning way after dropping last night's contest to the Carolina Hurricanes. Big thanks to all of you for joining us. Big thanks to Murat Atesh of The Athletic. Big thanks to Jesse Pierce of the Bar Down Beauties podcast and NHL.com for joining us to talk about the Jets, to talk about the Wild, to spend the last couple hours with us. We always greatly appreciate your dedication, your time, and the time that we all spend together. If you haven't already done so, be sure to smack that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn your notifications on, tell your friends, tell your family the best place to be after each and every Winnipeg Jets game. And again, on Saturday mornings is the Illegal Curve YouTube channel. Big thank you to Play Now. They're the title sponsor of this show. Our friends at Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Holt Dental, City Place, Wheatland Hockey, Label Daddy, Boston Pizza support all of these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. It's a beautiful Saturday out there. Whatever you're going to do it safely. We want to see you back here for the post-game show tomorrow evening. For Dave Minuk, for Ezra Ginsburg, I'm your host, Drew Mindell. We remind you once, we remind you again that if it's Saturday, it's the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you again tomorrow night for the post-game show. Until then, be safe, have fun. Thanks for watching the Illegal Curve Hockey Show.